Welcome to the Healthcare Nation podcast. I'm your host, Rick Janata, and we're committed to bringing you thought leaders in the field to discuss what's new and noteworthy in the health sector. This is the Healthcare Nation podcast.
Let's talk about the impending enforcement of the Digital Services Act, or the DSA, which is in effect starting in August of this year, which means they're going to have to start enforcing it. Within the EU, it will have wide-ranging impacts on online platforms. So the Digital Service Act, what it is, basically is it's a multitude of regulatory measures that the European Union has recently adopted, or it's proposing, which will reshape the digital business landscape, not just in Europe, but also transatlantically.
We're a big connected world, no doubt about that.
So let's walk through how each one of those would impact the health sector, starting with the regulatory measures.
Yeah, I think, look, first of all, this is the European Union putting something out there, great intention, but what are the implications for the United States, just say writ large, but also to answer your question specifically for the health sector. So I'll try to break them down. I think there were 7 of them that were in there. First of all, the regulatory side, the compliance costs, there's no doubt this will likely lead to increased compliance and operational costs for any health tech company that's obviously operating here in the US that wants to do business or is doing business in the EU. There's no doubt about that. And those costs are going to filter through perhaps to you and I here in the US. So that's the way things just kind of roll down. The business model adaptation, I think considering the business model, because a lot of what the EU did was they called the internet providers these gatekeepers. Related to that is the global side of it and the global strategic implications. So the EU is setting a regulatory precedent, right? Companies to factor those in as they think about their global growth plans strategically. There is also vulnerability for small and medium-sized health tech companies because they could be disproportionately affected when you think about the costs to comply with some of these regulatory issues that are out there. Very, very expensive. So what will be the implication for those small companies? And this is where we get back to that stymieing innovation and also the competition. So think about this. If the EU is pushed and the US is not favorable with respect to some of these compliance measures that they want, put into effect, they could easily pivot over to Chinese technologies. There's no doubt about that, or other folks that are out there. This could have implications for US companies that want to, expand in Europe. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
So from the regulatory side, all US-based healthcare tech companies need to be prepared for this across the board. What will it mean? What would it mean from competitive disadvantage? What do they have to put into place to be able to be compliant across the board? It could have a cascading effect on obviously the whole global face of health tech. But I think in the US, where we are leaders in this, it could have a disproportionate impact.
Yeah.
The opinions expressed by the host and guests are for informational purposes only and not associated with any companies or academic institutions. Please follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, as well as our YouTube channel, Healthcare Nation Podcast. And if you have any questions or want to contact us, please reach out to healthcarenationpodcast.com.